What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest. It's none other than the game designer and also the founder of Parallel. We have been playing Parallel for close to a month now. It's actually a closed beta has been around for over a month. Many people have been, talking about it, playing it, and ultimately, I myself have been putting some hours into it. So today, I have MrGone with us here today, and he is ultimately going to share with us many insight. I'm going to ask him a lot of questions. So before we start, make sure you guys like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Okay. So how are you doing, Mr. Gon? Koji, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, honestly. I'm happy for the most part. I'm excited that people are finally getting to play the game in sort of larger numbers. Everyone seems to be happy. It's going better than I could have expected. So yeah, I'm pretty
That's
happy.
great to hear. Has it been really busy on your end because managing your team, managing expectations, and all those stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's been really busy for like the last few years, honestly. I think we set ourselves a really ambitious task of trying to get this game out into the world by a certain point of time, and we did whatever we could to make sure that it was out. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. We're still iterating on it. We're still trying to make it better, but um, I think it's pretty amazing what we've done in such a short period of time. So yeah, it's insane, and it continues to be insane. I'm getting like about 1,000 messages as we speak. So
Oof.
yeah,
I mean, without, I think everyone appreciate and saw the effort that you guys put in, including myself. And I also want to congratulate you guys on this, this whole thing. I mean, I met you at 3XP for a brief. And back then, I didn't even play a single game of Parallel before. I only visited the booth and play like briefly. And no, it's just like another cool TCG game. But turns out that as I studied it, it's more in depth than that. There's not only player progression, the cards are actually very in depth and very intriguing, and no one faction can dominate you know across everything. So I just wanna, can you share about a little bit about like the game design, about the whole Parallel thing, that how's it going, and how what are your thought processes, when designing this factions and all those good stuff?
yeah, sure. I mean, I'm gonna start by just shamelessly plugging my podcast, our podcast, Life in Parallel. Me and the other game designers, we talk about all this stuff every week,
Link it
certain
up here.
elements of it.
We're just gonna link it up here so
Oh,
everyone
perfect.
can. Yeah.
See, I'm not used to real time plugs, but yeah, okay. So there'll be a link. But all that being said, I think that there's. I'll start at the beginning, right? Like
Yep.
we set out to make a game. I'm a huge fan of games like Hearthstone and Magic, and I've talked a little bit about a game that I used to play called Netrunner, and I think there's like a more closed version of it that's not a collectible card game called Android Netrunner that you can play. And these types of games really sort of formed my idea of what I wanted to see in a card game. And so what we tried to do is bring that level of complexity. Um, and I've heard some people say that, some of the parallels are a little bit rock, paper, scissors. This parallel beats this parallel, like whatever. Marco beats, we'll say, Shroud, and Shroud beats Earthen, and maybe Earthen beats Cathari, or like whatever the rock, paper, scissors matchup is. And some people were saying it like a bit of a complaint. But for me, I actually think that makes things more interesting, because then at the highest levels, you're kind of, and especially in tournament play, where you can bring in multiple decks to a tournament, you're kind of trying to outthink and out anticipate your opponent. And I think that keeps it a little bit fresh, as opposed to just knowing that these same two decks are going to dominate the top of the leaderboard or the top of the meta or whatever. And so our goal really is to just, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make a fun game. All of us on the game design team have spent many years both working in and designing and especially playing mostly tabletop card games, but card games of all kinds. And the only thing that I really set out to do was make the game that I wanted to see. And I mean, that's like, maybe it makes me sound like an egomaniac, but I was just like, what would be the perfect game for me? And then that's what I tried to make. And then you see if people will like it, because trying to anticipate what people are going to like or not like is impossible. We were like 3/4 of the way, not finished, but ready to release the game. And somebody came to us and was like, oh my God, is the game too complicated? Are people going to be able to play it? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if there's an appetite for this out there, especially in the Web3 world, but it turns out there is. So, it's been good.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. By the way, for those of you who do not know, can you like share when did you guys first started building Parallel and start designing the game?
Sure. Yeah. So we started in COVID. Me and I started this business with a bunch of my friends. Kalos is like one of my oldest, best buddies, and in COVID we were playing video games to sort of keep in touch with one another. Like playing Call of Duty or whatever, and talking on mic, just like how's the family, all that type of stuff. And we all worked in tech, and we kind of decided like, we're spending all this time playing games, and we, especially in COVID, like there's a lot of free time because no one's doing anything. Like I'm talking about like lockdown times. We had the idea like, well, let's just try our hand at making one of these games. And I'm giving you the abridged version here, but then an artist friend of ours wanted to sell some NFTs, and we said, no, don't do that. This was before the hype too. This is like pre-Beeple, pre all that stuff. We were like, don't do that. Let's see if we can marry these ideas. That was Kalos's doing. He was like, let's bring this guy in. Let's see if we can smash these two ideas together and see what we can do. And they came to me, and for me, the obvious idea was a card game, because card games by their nature have buying, selling, and trading as part of, not the game part of the game, but like is a natural piece for players who play the game. They buy singles, they cycle through cards, they trade, all that stuff. So it made sense.
Just like I don't even play Pokemon. I just collect.
Exactly. So, but that's exactly it, right?
Your point has been made.
Yeah. And so we decided to, make a card game. And then I was tasked with the, Herculean task of trying to figure out something interesting that people would want to play. And again, I had no idea. So I just decided to make the game that I wanted to see. I built a little bit of a skeleton, brought on a couple of my friends, Connor,
that's
AKA
crazy.
Merchant, and
you have no
Carson.
Gaming experience.
Oh, so I've tried my hand at making some indie games, more on the board game side of things than the computer or like digital side. But nothing that like has been published with any sort of extreme amount of success.
That's crazy.
Just prototypes. But we always talk about this because like if we hadn't have done it this way, no one would have given us money to make this game. And so I think that like, we're so thankful that like it all worked out the way it did, because we had the opportunity to make exactly what we wanted to make. Nobody was looking over our shoulder saying, oh, it should be this or it should be that. We kind of are all work autonomously and decide, okay, this is what the art needs to look like. This is how the game needs to play. And it's just us figuring it out on our own. And it's been like incredible.
That's awesome, man. That's so inspiring in a way as well. I mean, to many indie devs and indie studios listening to this, I think it will be such an inspiration. And I actually want to ask, like, is the team big or is it pretty lean?
I mean, there's probably like close to 60 of us at this point.
All right, that's pretty big.
Yeah, but when we started, there was only I want to say like 6 or 8 or something like
6. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like literally, it was just me and my friends in a WhatsApp group.
Dude, I want to make a game with my friends too, But yeah, actually, I want to ask you. The next question is actually, what is your favorite faction, and if not, your favorite Paragon as well?
Okay, my favorite Parallel and Paragon is Shroud Neve.
Okay,
and because I like sort of the puzzle box element, I like the randomness. I want to play all the I like control, so Shroud for sure. And so I want to play all these effects, do all this crazy stuff. And then hopefully I get to the point where I'm able to play Neve. It pops out a bunch of crazy units, and then we see what happens at the other side. And sometimes you're going to win big, and sometimes you're going to lose terribly. But I love that.
That's awesome. All right. I mean, I personally like all Organ Core because it's so easy and so aggressive, and a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's so OP as well. You know, like every 4 turns you get to summon something, either a defender or attacker. So that's like crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's ebbed and flowed. People who in the very first iteration of the game, the Gray Blocks, people were like, Cathari is the best, and then at a point it was Earthen, and then it's bounced around so many times that like I feel like we're doing something right. It's kind of exciting because everyone sort of tells me like a different parallel is their favorite.
Yeah.
So I mean that's good.
All right. Okay, now the juicy part. Okay, I seen the video of Colony. I think I'll link it down below as well. But like this, can you tell us the whole thing? Like what's going on with the Colony, and how soon are we able to play the pre-built version of it and all the good stuff?
Okay, what's going on with Colony? Well, Colony started out as a bit of an experiment by our developers. You know, they read a paper about AI, and a bunch of them are really into AI. They decided to try and reverse engineer this paper. It was a Google Stanford paper for anyone who's interested. They did. We thought it was kind of funny and interesting. And then we wondered, like, what if you did like a parallel type thing with that? So we did that, and that was interesting. And then from there, it just kind of like snowballed. And now we have, the last iteration of the game that people were playing was there was 12 colonists in a colony. And the only thing people knew was that the goal of the game was to be elected leader of the colony. But we didn't say how you did that or what you needed to do. Just you wanted your AI to be elected the leader of the colony. And every player was assigned an AI, and they could talk to that AI, and that AI could talk to you. And you could ask it to do things. And the goal was basically to build a relationship with the AI so that it would trust you when you said, oh, I think you should, some people said, I think you should mine a lot of resources, sell those resources, get money and give it away. People will really like you if you give away money. Some other people were like, oh, I think you should get resources, buy campaign posters, put up campaign posters and do all that stuff. Okay. One of the iterations of the colony I won, and I told my AI, what I think you should do is just tell jokes to people and become a stand-up comedian. Go to the bar every night and go and tell jokes, and people will love you. Okay. And he worked out a whole set. He even told me a joke, which was kind of amazing. And I ended up winning. So, the fun part is like trying to discover, and I'll say this, the vote at the end of the time period, the players aren't involved in the voting. The AI casts their own vote, and then whoever wins. And so, it was kind of left up to both the player and the AI to figure out what to do. And I think that made it most interesting. And you also just get to build a relationship with your player. The next iteration of the game is actually going to be ongoing. So the colony, it doesn't end after a period of time. What's going to happen is every so often, the colony is going to have to fend off certain disasters. So like maybe raiders attack the colony, or there's an ion storm or an earthquake or something. And you have to like figure out a way as a team to fend off those disasters. And so you collect resources ahead of time to try and mitigate any losses. And basically the way it'll work is if you can survive the disasters, your colony gets to go on, your score gets better, etc. And if you fail the disasters, if you fail 3 times, your colony is dissolved. You got to start again. And it's sort of like last colony standing type situation. And eventually what we want to do is allow the colonies to raid each other. So you can, steal resources from another colony so they can't, stop the earthquake or whatever. And so it's going to be a bit of a PvP situation. But you also got to remember that all the elements of the game that the AI is collecting are NFTs. So there's also and they're each AI has their own wallet that isn't your wallet, and they transact on their own without your interaction.
What?
Right? Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So basically, like you also have to balance it as a real world player. You're like, well, this guy found something rare. Maybe I want to keep it for myself. Maybe I want to, I don't know, put it on OpenSea or put it on a marketplace somewhere or whatever. So I don't want to give it away, but my colony really needs it. And if I don't if I don't donate it to the cause, our colony could dissolve and then we'll miss out on some other stuff. Because obviously the longer you survive, the more rare stuff you can find and all this stuff. So it's all this like calculus. At the same time, you're not your AI. Your AI is its own entity that can say, like, you can say like, hey, I want you to go to sleep. And it'll be like, no, I have things to do.
Wow.
It's not, you're working with it. It's like a 2-player game, except one of the players is a computer and the other player is you.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's been really fun and exciting to see.
Oh my God. Wow. I did not expect that, number one. And number two, it's really smart how you guys integrated AI into this thing as well. So I think, it sounds to me like Rust X AI or like any of the survival MMO that needs coordination and all those with AI. So that's really cool. And it's gonna build on Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. So we're we're working on I mean, we already have elements of it running on UE5 now. We're just working on trying to make it representative of the game that we want to see. I mean, we're trying to get it ready for the end of the year, early next year, at least like in a very like pre-alpha or alpha phase where like we'll still let people in and try it and whatever. Like, don't expect it to be perfect, but expect it to be playable.
That's crazy. Thanks for sharing how soon we'll be able to play it. Okay, now I think let's jump back a little bit back to Parallel. I actually want to talk about expansion sets and also the recent patch, right? So how often do you guys come up with expansion set? And I actually want to say that the new Qatari artwork, that card, is it Domination or something? It's crazy.
Okay. I mean, I love hearing that, and I'm sure the artists love it even more. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure what order people in the world are seeing the cards, because I've seen them all beforehand. We have an expansion coming called Planetfall. We've been working on it for a while. What is our release cadence? Somewhere between 4 to 6 months, I would say. We want to try and have an expansion out in the world on a somewhat regular basis. Keep the game fresh, shake up the meta. In between that time period, though, at the end of every battle pass, we'll have a card that players can earn that will adjust the game. So a new card that hasn't existed yet, that isn't even really officially part of any expansion. It's just, here's something to shake up the meta. So, but outside of that, we want to have an expansion every I would say 4 to 6 months roughly. There'll be varying sizes. We have Planetfall, at least the first iteration. We still need to do some testing and some balancing, obviously. We have that finished already. And we're working on the next one. But yeah, I mean, a lot to come. A lot to come.
So like Pokemon is like every 3 months or 4 months. So it's very freaking, bro. Like Pokemon wise, I know Pokemon, but I'm not sure about Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. So it's good to hear it's around, it's slightly longer, and I think it's better as well. And do you guys have like a rough like figure on like all these packs, like how much would it be? Because I haven't bought an expansion before. I only bought the start pack, before.
I am the wrong person to ask that question entirely. Okay. I honestly don't deal with the math and any of that side of things when it comes to what things are going to sell for, what the supply is, whatever. But I will say that prior to any sales, we always release all of the information. So what the odds are in the packs, how many packs there are, how big the collection is. So, I mean,
for the hobby, it's for the hobby.
Yeah. And it's verifiable too. That's the one thing I really like about it being on the blockchain is the rarity. Like, for a fact, this is the rarity. You can see it in real time. You can see who owns what. So yeah, I mean, it'll definitely be out there before the set is out there, but I definitely don't have those answers.
Awesome. Before we actually transition to, the patch and stuff like that, I actually want to ask you one more question, because like, you know how Pokemon has all the first edition cards, right? And Parallel has all these FE cards, which is first edition as well. Like, do you have like any like additional info for like the new viewers on this? Like, can you share like, is it gonna be more valuable, or like, is it gonna, is it shiny or like stuff like that? Like,
Yeah.
anything
So
that you can give us?
we just released an update today, and you can probably see. So we have first edition and special edition cards right now, and I think it's in. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's in today's update. If you go take a look at it, you'll be able to see a visual difference between the first edition and special edition cards. So there'll be a sort of a visual representation there, but also one of the big differences is renown. So special edition cards will earn renown faster than first edition cards, but first edition and special edition cards are the only types of cards in the game that will be able to spawn new cards. So if you have a first edition or special edition version of a card and you earn enough renown and you put in a little bit of prime, you can create what we call an echo, which is basically what a second edition version of whatever card. So we'll take Annihilate as an example. You play it enough, you earn enough renown, you throw in a little bit of prime, and you create a copy, an NFT copy of Annihilate that is an echo. And then you can check our Twitter. You can see what it looks like. There's like a white little border there and stuff. But you can then take that echo, put it on the secondary, or trade it with your friends, or give it to your friends or whatever. And basically our current player base, the people who are holding the first edition and special edition cards, are the ones who are going to provide new NFT copies for the incoming players. So we won't ever create any more Annihilates. Whatever the edition size is on Annihilate, that's the most that we'll ever print. Any other new printings of Annihilate have to come from the existing players.
So this is essentially better than the first edition Pokemon cards, guys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like Pokemon cards, but you can make copies of them.
That's crazy. Okay, thanks so much for sharing. I think last one that I want to touch on is actually the latest patch. I've been hearing some noise about it. One of my friends or followers actually said, "Oh my god, I bought this deck and right now it's completely useless, or it has been nerfed and stuff like that." But this is ultimately essentially the whole thing. Like the whole thing about TCG is about patches, everything, right? So can you share about the latest patch, and how often do you guys patch?
We'll definitely be patching more often because we're in closed beta. That's kind of the point. We need to collect as much data as possible and just make sure that we're adjusting things accordingly. We're also probably a little bit more crazy with our patching right now because, and by that I mean like more willing to do more extreme things because we want to see what works and what doesn't before it gets out into the wider world. But the current patch basically sees Ogden Core tuned down a little bit. Not a lot. So like one of the big cards in the Ogden Core arsenal is Jury Rig Juggernaut. People like to use that as
I love that.
Potential OTK. We've adjusted the cost from 7 to 8. It doesn't really do a lot. Like it gives the other player one more turn to come up with an answer or potentially win, but still the functionality is the same. So just prolongs things a little bit. We've adjusted some other costing and stats on some of the other units, but nothing too crazy. So we've just tuned down Ogden Core a little. Earthen gets a little bit of some people would say a tune-up, but not too much really. Honestly, like one card, Primea Conduit, gets shielded. There's another card that loses a negative condition, but again, we're leaving it relatively where it is. The two big ones, though, are Cathari and Marcolian. So Cathari, we saw at the highest levels. Cathari had one of the highest win rates, and we saw at the highest levels that most people were just playing Cathari decks, and it was sort of outpacing things by a bit of a margin. So we've tuned it down a lot. Now, whether or not it actually stays that way, I don't know. Like
I don't think so.
I would say that to anybody, no, but I mean to anybody listening, if any of your cards that you love have gotten debuffed, it doesn't mean that they won't be buffed again in the future. This is just sort of, and I explained this on the pod, but the idea is not only do we want to adjust the balance, but we want to get people playing other parallels. We've seen a lot of Cathari play, and now we want to try and encourage some other play. So Cathari has been tuned down. I honestly, I think it's not as bad as people think. They look at the notes and they think, oh my God, and they theory crafted, but like now it's in their hands. We'll actually see what happens. And I think people will figure it out, honestly. And then we've really tuned up Markolian. We've given them a lot more in their arsenal to move a lot quicker, to make, just like the sort of hit face meta really work. Super aggro. So they've gotten a whole lot of buffs because they were the least played, and their win rate was not very good. So yeah, a lot of changes there. And then as well, we a ton of bug fixes and a ton of UI changes. Still, and now I want to also say to anybody listening, still a lot of UI UX changes to come. The things that we worked on the most before releasing for the closed beta was functionality. And once we've honed in functionality where we want, then the UI UX will get tuned even more. So don't think that we think that this is perfect the way it is or whatever. Like all of the complaints that I've heard are complaints that I have myself. So I'm with you. We're definitely going to work on that. But yeah, I would say like if you're listening, try Markolian for sure. And try Cathari and see if you can make it work, because I think you can.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I played Qatari before the patch, so it was actually pretty strong. It was so strong, and I just breezed through the rookie matches. But I appreciate all the stats, all the insights, which I truly think that a good card game will have its ups and downs, just like the stock market or like just the crypto market. When there's up, there's down, there's down, there's up. I actually want to ask you this question that is not on the question list. I actually want to ask you is it ever going to come on mobile?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Because right, I've been playing this Web3 mobile game by Gala. Like, I tell you, with this thing, I'm on 8 to 9 hours nonstop.
Actually, I like that. I mean, mobile games are important, but I think that like the thing is with mobile games, in order to do it right, like the reason why I think Snap is so popular, right, is because they started with mobile design in mind. Parallel hasn't. We designed it to be a desktop game, and so if we ported it to mobile, I think it would feel like a desktop port to mobile. What I'd really like to, and I'm not saying that we won't do that. I mean, eventually, I assume it might happen. But what I would really like to do is design a game in the Parallel world for mobile. In fact, I've already have a game design ready to go. It's not the same game. It's a different game, but we could use the same assets. It would be quicker, like much quicker, right? Because the other thing is, you have to design for the medium in mind, right? Like when people sit down in front of a PC, they're normally like they're not just sitting down for 5 minutes at a time. When you sit down at a PC, that you're gonna sit here for some time. When you get on your phone, you're not expecting to be on your phone for hours, right? You're probably thinking to yourself, like, I might play like 5-10 minutes, whatever.
That's actually very smart. So basically, League of Legends and Wild Rift, right? Yeah. You guys want to make a Wild Rift version, right? So
yeah. And so I have a game that I really would like to see in the mobile sphere, and maybe at some point we'll be able to do that.
That's some nice alpha right there. Okay. I think we also want to know like some of the upcoming developments, and ultimately, is Parallel any close to global launch, or if not full launch?
I mean, I suspect that we'll be in open beta at least at some time.
For quite some time.
Well, we're closed beta right now, but open beta sometime again near the end of the year, and then who knows from there.
All right. Okay. Any other like developments that are like down the pipeline that is relatively immediate
Let me think about that. I mean, more Planetfall stuff to come for sure. I think that we're about to reset everybody's MMR as of the 1st of next month. And then those new cards that I was talking about that you can earn on the Seasons Pass will be available as of September 1st. So I would say check that out. And if you don't have access and you want access, shoot me a message on Twitter or whatever. And anyone who's listening to this will get you in there for sure.
Yeah, let me know. I'll shoot him the DM too.
Yeah, there you go.
But a question for me. I'm not a very seasoned player. After this, the season end, which is 1st September or something like that, will I be able to continue playing in the closed beta or no? It's gonna reset everything.
Oh no. So yeah, no. As of now, if you're in closed beta, you'll be indefinitely. The season reset just means that your rank will go back down. Everyone kind of starts flat again. The battle pass. We're actually going to introduce a premium battle pass, I believe. So there'll be 2 tiers of battle pass, and you'll start again at level 1, and then you can progress through the season. But you'll if you have access from now, if you have access now, you will have access forever.
Awesome. I think those are the things that I want to hear for a game. But I think Koji, one of the things that I actually want to say is that this game the artwork is not very dark, and at the same time it's not very not that how to say, it's not too dark. It has the middle ground. Okay, it has a middle ground that I think, for me, I don't like horror stuff, but I do like aliens and stuff like that. So it appeals to me for some reason, which I don't know about anyone else, but I just want to say that because I personally cannot do horror stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, we're trying to do a bit of a grounded sort of semi-realist approach so that it feels like it could be of the world, but it's not. I mean, elements of it are bordering on scary, but we're not trying to do horror, and we're not trying to do too cartoony. I feel like a lot of card games really go for a cartoon aesthetic, and we wanted to really differentiate ourselves in that way. So yeah.
Awesome. I think that's all, guys. I think there's so many insights and info in this video. I think you guys need to rewatch it once or twice. But before we end it, I think I need to ask Koji one last question, which is, growing up, what card games do you play or collect? Is it Magic the Gathering or something else?
I mean, everything. My main game was Magic the Gathering for sure. Yeah. I mean, I just love games. So my main card game was Magic the Gathering, but in the 90s, okay, so I'm a little bit older, I guess, by comparison. In the 90s, when Magic the Gathering first got hot, around Unlimited, 4th edition, somewhere in there, a bunch of other startup games started to get published. So I played a game called Gridiron, which is a TCG based on football. There's another one called Illuminati. I already mentioned Android Netrunner, and I also just love board games. Anything, I find that card and board games are sort of the purest form of game mechanics. When you're playing a computer game, some of the mechanics within the game can be not lost, but obscured in a good way, because it's more immersive, right? With the sound design and the graphics and sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. So as an example, you play a Naughty Dog game, right? Uncharted or Last of Us or whatever. And you don't even know it, but the sort of yellow colors and the lights are always telling you where to go. There's no map, but okay, my next destination is that yellow platform, that yellow rope, that, the lit hallway in the area of darkness. And that's really good game design. But the players don't realize what's happening, which makes it immersive. But when you're playing a card game or a board game, it's everything is manual. You have to control it all. And it's I mean, I guess because I've been obsessed with games my whole life, it is the
purest form.
And it's knowledge, right? You just learn, okay, this is how these things work in real time. And so I was always just feed me every game that I can get at, because I want to try them. So like, as an example, I there's a bag right out there full of Lorcana cards, the new Disney TCG, because I want to try it and see what that's all about. And just because I'm curious.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I haven't heard such a fresh take from someone in a long time. I think this is my first time hearing this, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Koji. Any last words?
Yeah, I mean, join our Discord. There's a lot of people out there to help you. Check out. We have some great content creators. I'll just shout out a few. I know I love the Game Seller guys. Definitely check out Alice Straza. She was one of my favorite Hearthstone streamers, or is one of my favorite Hearthstone streamers, and now she's doing Parallel stuff,
Working
which is
with
like
you guys.
Makes me super excited. I'm like. Every time she asks me a question, I'm like, "Oh my God, you're the best!" Yeah, and follow us on Twitter. at Parallel TCG, or maybe it's just at Parallel now. I don't even know.
No, it's Parallel TCG.
Yeah, okay. And I'm at Parallel TCG Pod. Listen to the podcast, and I don't know. Just play the game. More than anything, I don't care if you do any of that other stuff. Just play the game.
Play the game, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I was signing out.